Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. Hello, and welcome to our webinar. Today, we're doing a webinar on process optimization pitfalls and how to avoid them. With me, my name is Mickey Ferrance, and I'm with Bonita Soft, and with our key presenter today, Reint Jan Holterman of BPM Leader. So let me go through the agenda quickly on what we're going to do in this webinar. I'll say just a few things about Bonita Soft and our flagship product, Bonita BPM, and then I'll hand you all over directly to Reint Jan, who's the star of our show today, and he'll start off with what process optimization means and why it's important, tell you about the dangers commonly encountered in optimization projects, and then offer you some practical tips so that you can remember how to avoid these pitfalls and, importantly, implement your optimization projects successfully. And when he's finished, I'll offer a few more insights about keeping the optimization spirit going even after your application is deployed. And then we'll open everything up for questions. So during the webinar, please feel free to enter your questions into the question field in the lower right of your GoToWebinar screen, and we'll address them then at the end of the session during the Q&A. So just quickly about Bonita Soft, we're sponsoring with BPM Leader this webinar. We're the leading provider of open source BPM software, and our Bonita BPM 6 suite has been downloaded by users all around the world, and it's supported by a very active community. We celebrated our 5th anniversary this year, and we've surpassed 1,000 customers for our Bonita BPM subscriptions. Bonita BPM 6 is Bonita Soft's flagship product, and it's now currently available in version 6.3, but stay tuned. Before the end of the year, a little bit later in this month, we're going to be launching version 6.4. And the Bonita model is an open source model, so we have a community edition of Bonita BPM, which is freely available. You can be downloaded from our website. And this is the core functionality of Bonita BPM. Subscription editions, teamwork, efficiency, and performance are all provide additional support. They provide support. They provide additional features for developing robust process-based applications. And just a quick sneak peek for some of you who are already familiar with Bonita BPM, a quick sneak peek on what's coming in 6.4 includes in efficiency custom page development tooling based on AngularJS framework, and process health monitoring that will allow you to see cases that are running, see them if they are blocked, and be able to see the process model so you can see where those blockages are taking place. In the Community Edition, we've got deeper and more detailed APIs, among other things. So that's a quick peek at what's coming. So included in all editions of Bonita BPM is a graphically based design studio that's based on the BPMN2 standards. We have an extensive set of connectors which allow you to integrate your process-based application with other systems such as databases, CRMs, ERPs, email, social platforms, and so on. And those are internal, so it's quick and easy to build connections to these external systems. It has a form builder, so you can create application forms either as standalone web forms or to be integrated into your own portal. And we have a web portal interface which can be used for end users and also for process administrators via desktop and mobile devices. So with that quick rundown about who Bonita Soft is and what Bonita BPM does, now I'll go ahead and turn the webinar over to Reint Jan so we can hear about how to go about ensuring how an optimization project, including those for process applications, can be successfully implemented.
Okay, thank you, Mickey, and perhaps you can make me present I'm yes. Show my screen. So if everything goes okay, you will now see the slide about BPM Leader. Well, good morning or good afternoon to everyone, and welcome. As said, this webinar is a joint initiative by Bonita Soft and BPM Leader, and we'll go in more depth on process optimization and the 5 pitfalls you may encounter on the way to optimizing your processes. After a quick introduction of BPM Leader, I'd like to continue with the why and what of process optimization, and also highlight the 5 pitfalls one may possibly run into, and then explain in the end the 5C model that will help you overcome the pitfalls and be more successful in your optimization projects. Well, to start off, a quick overview of BPM Leader. It's an independent community run by and for BPM professionals. It's a worldwide community, and to date we have more than 15,000 members connected with BPM Leader. And every day, or every month actually I should say, we welcome thousands of visitors who read articles contributed by our bloggers. We're founded in 2012, and I believe it's definitely filling a need amongst BPM professionals, as we've almost quadrupled our community size in less than 3 years' time. We're strictly independent, and we only accept non-commercial content in our blogs. Besides this, we're also partnering with leading institutions like Gartner and other analyst firms. And besides that, we also offer various partnership programs, lead generation, and branding opportunities to companies that want to promote themselves within our BPM community. Let's see if I can go to the next slide. Yeah. Well, it's my honor to be asked by Bonita Soft to be your guest speaker for today. As said, my name is Reint Jan Holterman, and I'm working as an independent marketing and business development consultant for various software companies. I started my career, I think, it's 18 years. It's almost a shock to me now, as a software engineer at Baan Company back in 1997. And I worked for several years at the development side before I made the switch to sales and marketing. During my time at Baan, actually, I already got to work with Baan's own DEM, for those of you familiar with it, or Dynamic Enterprise Modeling, which was a sort of a predecessor of BPM tools that we find nowadays in the market. Later on, I joined Cordis, which is now OpenText, as the product marketing manager, and worked from their Chicago office in the US on various BPM projects and initiatives. For the last 6 years, I've been running my own marketing and business development company, and help companies in their go-to-market strategies with product launches, or if they want to make the step to go to new markets abroad. Next to that, I also then founded BPM Leader, as I still have a deep passion for the business process management domain. So what is process optimization then? Well, if you go on the internet, you will come across many definitions. One that comes close to what I feel describes well what process optimization is the following. Process optimization is the discipline of adjusting a process so as to optimize a specified set of parameters without violating some constraint. So, in normal language, I would say in its core, it's a change project in which you try to adjust or modify something in order to improve its working, to get better results faster with less efforts, with higher predictability and lower cost. And still you have to optimize your processes within the given situation or boundaries, so without violating some constraint, as the definition said. And it's not simply throwing away what you have and start all over. Rather, it's modifying and fine-tuning what you have, and step-by-step improve the input, throughput, output of your process. Process optimization is also not something new, not at all. I think it's of all times. I think from our earliest days of mankind, we've already been trying to improve and optimize our processes. You know, in the prehistoric times, we were hunter-gatherers living in caves, and we used our bare hands for growing foods, crops, and killing animals. And at some time, one of our ancestors found that a spear or maybe a stick with a sharp stone on it would help in kill an animal or would help in plowing the land and grow crops easier. The chances for successful results, that having something to eat, were improved by these kind of tools. So that's a kind of process optimization already. But also the way how they did it, so hunting is not alone but in groups, or by pouring water over the crops every now and then. So there are also other process optimizations that people made already, centuries and centuries ago. And these optimizations serve two goals.
Excuse me, Reint Jan. Excuse me for interrupting. Can you speak just a little bit more slowly?
Okay, sure, no problem.
Thank you. Thank you.
So these optimizations serve two goals: better results, that's having more to eat, and reduce cost, that's less efforts needed and less time spent away from the cave, which again reduce the risk of getting wounded or getting killed. So as the next step, I would like to do a poll, so bear with me. I'm going to start it and you'll see it popping up on your screen. There it is. So who of you is currently involved, directly or indirectly, in the process optimization project? And you can click on your screen and answer either yes or no. I see the answers coming in now. A few more seconds and I think we have almost everyone has given his vote or her vote. So close it if it's okay, because I don't see it, but I guess you are now seeing the results. That 78% said yes, I'm involved in such a project, and 22% says no, but I guess being part of this webinar that they are about to start in such a project or are considering it. Well, it's great to see. So then back to the slides. So the question is always then, why are you in process optimization? And I have always learned that it's good to start with the question why. Why do we want to put our efforts in something like process optimization? What is it good for? Well, for me the answer to why process optimization would be it helps businesses better reach their goals and fulfill their mission more effectively and more efficiently. And in turn, and that's even more important, it serves your customers better. They get their products better or their services faster at a lower cost and higher quality. And for me, process optimization always should have a direct connection, a direct link to the heart of your business, and to the business definition of your organization. What's the reason of existence for your company? Or more philosophically, why is your company on earth? And why is it tolerated or accepted by society, by your customers, by your shareholders, your employees? Why are you working there actually? And by your partners. And optimization efforts should strengthen the core of your business. It should strengthen that reason of existence of your company. I believe that most of you would agree that from all stakeholders, the customers are probably the most important ones in an organization. Customers enable your company to grow and to survive, and in the end, they're also the ones that pay your bills. Pretty straightforward. Therefore, the optimization effort should be focused on the end-to-end business process, starting with the customer and also ending with the customer. And customer satisfaction should be the most important touchstone, if you will, to measure progress and success. But we'll come to that later. So we've seen that the why of the process optimization is to strengthen the organization's core business by helping its customers better. If we take it one step further, we make it somewhat more tangible. Typically we'll see two goals most process optimization initiatives have in common. That is, striving to maximize the output or to minimize cost. And in a classic input, throughput, output flow, we'll try to optimize the throughput phase. Sometimes from the outside is the black box. For us, of course, as people working in the processes, it's not a black box. In such a way that we either need less input, less materials, less time, less capital, or that we get better end results, higher financial reward and more satisfied customers. Ideally, an optimization effort should do both, improve the output and the input. Any organization must at a minimum ensure that it generates enough funds to pay its employees, its suppliers, and its interest to its investors. But doing that typically won't be enough to, in the long run. Innovations are needed for the survival of a company because the world and your competitors are changing too. The increase in revenues can thus be used for innovations, for instance to fund new product developments, and new developments simply cost money. If it's a new medicine or it's a new software app for managing your resource management more effectively, whatever, it costs money, it costs resources. So these extra revenues generated can also be used to expedite the company's go-to-market plans. Opening up new regional offices, increasing marketing and advertising spend, hiring a new sales rep, all contribute to grow your business quicker. On the other hand, cost reduction, so minimizing costs, can play a significant role too. One could optimize an order-to-cash process, for instance, in a large manufacturing plant by adopting a just-in-time or JIT production methodology, leading to lower inventory levels and shorter time between production steps. This will normally will have a positive effect on your margins and lowers your overall production cost. Costs can also be lowered by looking carefully at all cost centers in the company, eliminating the ones that do not contribute to the core business operations. In addition, expensive production factors, so your production capital, so to say, your machines and etc., may be utilized better or be replaced by less expensive ones. Cost reductions in general lead to higher profit margins, and this also increases then the attractiveness of the business to external investors and shareholders. They get a better ROI on their investment. As you can see, this matrix lists some of these examples. It's a best practice that before you start with your process optimization project, that you would first try to map in which quadrant the benefits or the intended benefits of your optimization effort would fall. This will help you to better explain the expected results and to find the right champions within your organization, the right ambassadors, to support your initiative. And this brings me to a second poll I would like to put up quickly. So, what would you consider to be the most important reason to start an initiative, an optimization initiative? And please click the answer that best matches with your ideas. Yeah, some answers are coming in. I see people click on do more with less or improve customer relations or long-term financial stability. I think we have almost all answers in. I'll close it now and share the results. And you see that actually do more with less, improve customer relationships are doing best. So it's either on the output side as well as on the cost side that people are looking to do their process optimizations. And ideally, these go hand in hand and can be achieved by the same optimization. Okay. I'll hide it and go back to the slides again. So, let's see if I can forward the slide again. Yeah. Okay. So then, how can we do it? So we know why we want to do it, or at least we should know why we want to do it, then how are we doing it? And be aware, there are a number of pitfalls on the way that you must try to avoid when optimizing your processes. Did you know that it's on average that 60 to 70%, so that's the majority of the optimization projects are failing. So there are many reasons for this, and in this webinar we will discuss 5 pitfalls that are commonly encountered in optimization projects, and they go all across the board, so no matter if you're working in a large or smaller enterprise or in a government agency. And the first one is an unclear start and finish. I'm not sure if you heard of Yogi Berra. I think it's one of the most famous baseball players in American history ever. And he was not only good at playing baseball, but also famous for his quotes. And he once said, if you don't know where you are going, you probably end up somewhere else. And I think that's a brief summary of this pitfall. The start and the finish should be clear. So process optimization is a journey, and as with any journey, it's essential to know where you are before you take off. You need to understand the current status quo of the process to be optimized. And let's call this a zero measurement. So who is involved in the process? What input-output parameters are being used? What's the average time to completion? Who handles exceptions? How often are they raised and why? And you need to have this clear before you can start your optimization project. Otherwise, you don't know if you improved or maybe even made things worse in the long run. Just as important is to know where you want to go. So where you want to be heading with your processes. What's the finish line? What's the desired outcome of the improvements and changes? If you don't know what you want to accomplish, you don't know if you have reached your goals. So as Yogi Berra said, if you don't know where you're going, you probably end up somewhere else. So both the starting point and the intended end result should be clear before you start. Intermediate measurements, so seeing how you're doing along the way can help you as a sort of a signpost and will guide you in the right direction. However, you must first make sure that you're measuring the right things. So this is something that goes wrong very often in optimization projects. The wrong performance indicators are used, and they can take you off course as they point your optimization efforts basically in the wrong direction. So an example of an incorrect or KPI may be one that's not linked to the overall business goals, so not to your reason of existence, your business definition. So indeed, your process optimization efforts might have a positive influence on your KPI, and the KPI may go up or down, whatever it's measuring. But in the long run, it's not a guarantee that the improved process itself better contributes to the bottom line results of your organization. Just for an example, the fact that you can reduce the number of steps for handling a customer request by itself do not guarantee that you will be making more profits. And if that's your major goal, making profits, you could better, for instance, define a KPI on the total operational cost for handling a customer request and see if you can bring that down. Another way where it goes wrong with KPIs is that they are not smartly defined, and I think you all know SMART. It's specific, measurable, acceptable, realistic, and time-bound. So KPIs that are not SMART in this way are multi-interpretable, and therefore, it's difficult to draw the right conclusions out of them. It may also happen that the KPI is impacted not only by your business process that you're trying to improve, but also by external factors. Also an example, there's one telco company in Europe that a few years ago tried to improve its customer satisfaction level, and they defined several KPIs to see if they were still on track. And one was the number of complaints given or brought in via social media. And they wanted to bring that number down, so less complaints via Twitter and social media channels would show indeed that customers are more satisfied, right? But what they didn't take into account at that time was that social media was booming and people were using it all the day, and it was much easier now also to give complaints. So instead of getting less complaints, they got more complaints because the threshold to give a complaint via Twitter, for instance, was so much lower. So this was influenced by an external factor, namely the rise of social media, and that meant that in itself the KPI was not helpful to steer on at that time. Lack of ownership and support. Sorry, we're closed. Yeah. In the end, it's the people who make a process successful. It's the human being, the human factor that makes the difference. And then if someone does his work poorly, this will result in a poor process outcome or unnecessary cost or both. And that also makes the role of the process owner very important. That's the one who should take then responsibility and has the responsibility for this specific business process, and for the people working in that also, he can monitor that to some extent. And I think there's also the process owner who usually will be the one who's the driving force behind the optimization projects, as he cares about this project and strives to do a better job every day. Clearly, lack of time by a process owner means that in the end no one will see to a successful outcome of the optimization project. So there should be enough time. That's another pitfall. And also C-level support is very important. And lack of C-level support can be quite harmful to the end result of the optimization program. Cross-departmental business processes are typically the first processes one would consider for optimization, right? The cross-department handshake, so to say, often leaves a lot of room for improvement. Communication problems, different ways of working between departments, IT systems that do not exchange data well, etc., etc. They all give you suboptimal performance across the board. And if you want to optimize a process that goes over or across multiple departments, you will need someone overseeing those departments, and typically that will be someone in top-level management position, and you need his or her sponsorship for your project. changes are not embedded. That's another pitfall. People don't like change too much, and they do not like too many changes too. I think in nature most people resist change, and mostly this is because people don't know why a change is needed or how it may affect them. What will it mean for them, for their day-to-day work, and that makes it very important that you take the time to communicate all changes needed to realize process improvements with all the stakeholders, including the people working on the processes on a daily basis. And when you start cutting down the way things are done in the company, you put everyone and everything off balance. So first, people need to understand why the change is needed. Then they need to understand how the change will benefit them. Trainings and time for internal discussions and workshops can help you in this phase to execute the needed change successfully. And as the last step, you need again to internalize and embed the process improvements. In classical change management literature, this is called the three-stage change model, which was developed back in 1951 by Kurt Lewin. And this model describes that you first need to unfreeze an organization, then do the changes, and then refreeze the organization again and reach a situation where you have a stable work environment with proper process descriptions and work instructions and what have you. This refreezing is important to embed changes and make them last. And the fifth pitfall, as you can see here with a snail, is there's often a tendency to focus more on data, on KPIs, but not so much on the execution itself. And complicated statistics and nice dashboards and everything by itself will not help you improve your bottom line results. It often only provides a fake feeling that a lot of work is being done, but in reality it isn't taking you anywhere, or at least not very fast. A lot of talk, a lot of effort, a lot of time put into the project, but the actual changes are not really implemented. What's needed instead is a means, is a tool perhaps to execute upon business insights effectively and efficiently. Something that makes the insights actionable. And I believe that the business process management or BPM system would be a perfect tool for doing this. So we've just seen the road to optimized processes can be full of potholes that one can fall into if one is not well prepared. In the remainder of this webinar, we will go into the 5 C's, which you see here: customer first, collaboration, consciousness, communication, and continuous execution. And these 5 will serve as prerequisites for doing process optimization right, and do it right from the start. So let's start with the first one, customer first. As said, companies exist thanks to their customer. It's the most important stakeholder. They provide you with the money to keep the engine going. They also help shape the future as they give input on new requirements and new insights into developments in the market. It's therefore important to understand the customer's process and way of working first before implementing any process improvement. The first step would be to identify and recognize who your real customer is. That's not always clear up front. Is it the one who uses your product? Is it maybe the manager of the department where your product is used? Is it the one who signed off the contract? Is it the end customer that's using your product being built with your tool, so the customer of the customer? Yeah, well, that I cannot answer that in this webinar, but that's something to look at. Who would you consider to be your prime customer? And then, if you know that, establish what the customer would experience as a successful result. Some thought leaders, such as Jan Holterman, have labeled this as successful customer outcomes and have published several articles and books about this topic, which you can find on bpmleader.com. They advise us, these thought leaders, to work outside in order to discover the steps a customer would take in his customer journey. And the customer journey is probably one of the most critical processes you would want to optimize. And in the end, as said, process optimization should always lead to an even better adaptation to the way customers expect us to work, not vice versa. We should wrap the processes around the customer and not our customer around our way of working. A customer-driven approach is needed, and that means start with the end in mind, a happy and a satisfied customer, and then work backwards. And the second C would be conscious, or being aware. Being aware of what happens around you. In process optimization, it's the KPIs that are your eyes and ears, so to say, and help you stay on the right track, provided you've chosen and implemented the right KPIs, which was, as we discussed, one of the pitfalls. That's not easy. KPIs are like the gauges in your car or in the cockpit of the airplane. Are you still going in the right direction? Are you going fast enough? How long can you still drive before the tank is empty, etc. So these process indicators need to be accurate, cost-effective to obtain, easy to understand, timely and actionable. In other words, they need to be smart. And each KPI should directly link back to the overall business or organizational goals. Process analysis and business activity monitoring tools will help you to proactively monitor your process KPIs. These tools, which are often delivered as an integral part of a BPM suite, provide ways to analyze and visualize KPIs via management dashboard. This management dashboard can be used to steer and tune your process optimization efforts, as well as serve as a communication tool to your stakeholders and C-level management. Moreover, these type of tools also offer ways to handle escalations quickly. So if something goes wrong or goes off course. For instance, they may automatically escalate process notifications and deviations to the KPIs immediately to the right person, so that he or she can take the appropriate actions needed quickly and adequately. So, a question then to you, which is related to this topic, is how often did you also plan for these type of activities in your optimization project? And did you use acceptance tests, for instance, to see where you are going and if you're still doing what your end users or users would want to see? Okay, give a few more seconds for the answers to come in. And almost everyone has given his vote, so I'll close it now and share the results with you. So you'll see that it's about equal, that about 43% says yes and 43% says no, I haven't done it, and 40% don't remember, or maybe it wasn't very clear. So that's, I think it's better than I expected. Actually, I would have expected the no to be much higher than the yes, so I'm really happy with that. This is also part of being conscious. So doing this helps you to better understand where you are heading and if you're doing the right things. And also, if you have no ways to involve your process users or do these kind of tests while optimizing, another way might be to use process simulation. You can complement it with user tests, or use both next to each other. The simulation can be done manually, although most BPM tools also offer a simulation module for this purpose. And using simulation, you can discover process bottlenecks and simulate outcomes at an early stage already. And it may help you to get an idea how your process behaves under heavy loads. And also stress testing can be done in those cases. It's a great way to streamline process designs and to get deeper insights into what will be the optimal route or path to take. And based on the outcomes of the first round of user tests and your own simulations, you can redesign your original process or assign extra resources to specific tasks, and then run the second simulation round, etc., until you have optimized the end-to-end chain in such a way that it meets your customer requirements and expectations. And that also brings me to the next point, where you already see the slide of collaboration. Process optimization is not something that you do as a standalone initiative, standalone exercise. It involves customers, it involves people from various disciplines, from different management layers, different backgrounds. It's therefore essential that a good collaboration process is established first. In particular, as we've seen, the process owners and key users of the process should be involved, and right from the start. And these people should regularly meet to discuss possible optimizations and agree if and how these can be incorporated in the process design. These people live the process, so to say, day and night, and they know where to focus on and where inefficiencies can be eliminated first. Most BPM tools nowadays foster collaborative processes and foster collaboration. They not only offer shared repositories where process experts can work together with versioning capabilities, for instance, and with the ability to comment on each other's work. They also offer tools to stimulate communication amongst team members, such by sending notifications or emails directly. Also during process evaluation, that is when the simulation results are being reviewed and discussed, collaboration between the people directly involved in the process execution and the business experts, so the business side of the company, is important. And in the end, these business experts can also suggest alternatives for process bottlenecks discovered during simulation. Most of the time, the alternatives involve business decisions. Is it acceptable to have longer process times, so longer time to market, so to say, in order to add an extra quality check in the production process? So what gives more weight? Is it the quality or is it time to market? Is it acceptable in terms of risk and compliancy to outsource a specific process to a third party? That's also a business question. Process owners will have to collaborate with legal, financial, HR, marketing, and what have you within a company to ensure the right processes are carried out. So as a nice side effect of your optimization project, the process itself gets more credibility and visibility within the company, as it's now shared and co-created and maybe even a little bit co-owned by a larger community of experts within your organization. As already said, it's important to start with the end in mind, the way your customer will use the process outcome. So why then not also invite directly the customer to collaborate with you and improve the process and the process results, or the product that you are getting out of that. And by the way, this also perfectly fits in an agile approach, having the end user or key user in your project. Customers can give you valuable feedback, and for this we can use online feedback forms or feedback forms and include it with the product itself, or perhaps conduct a number of customer interviews via the phone. And if you want to have more qualitative and in-depth feedback, you may also choose to set up a face-to-face customer interaction program to involve customers at an early stage to improve your product or service as well as the process itself. And this is especially useful and I think also recommended if you're delivering complex products or services, or if the cost to change something in the process or in the product are relatively high. Then the more security you get at the beginning, the better it is. If you would have no immediate access to customers for some reasons, you can also gather feedback within your own organization, as said. And by asking feedback from process actors and other employees, you will probably get valuable insights and suggestions where improvements could be realized. Also, don't forget to include customer support representatives. They are typically, on a day-to-day basis speaking with customers and clients, and they will have tons of first-hand feedback right at their disposal. So those are very, very valuable sources of information. A lot of BPM tools offer feedback gathering capabilities out of the box, for instance by providing electronic feedback form that can be sent out to a select group of recipients as soon as a specific activity or process step is completed. And this enables organizations to systematically collect feedback in a standardized fashion at multiple stages in the process execution flow. Nonetheless, I go to the next slide. You can collaborate as much as you want, but if you don't communicate well, in the end it will not work, of course. Communication is the oil needed to prevent the engine of going stuck, keep things flowing as smoothly as possible. Communication helps at several stages in the optimization project. First of all, it helps you get everyone into the unfreeze mode, as you may remember of Lewin's three-stage change model. It helps to communicate why we are doing things. Also intermediate results, changes and final implementations need to be communicated clearly to everyone and to keep everyone on board and aligned with the intended optimizations. And it's also excellent marketing opportunity, for instance, to share with your customers that you are investing in an process improvement. It shows them that way that you are taking their feedback seriously and that you are willing to dedicate time and money to create an even better successful customer outcome for them. Involving top management, as said, is also crucial. As with any change project, commitment from the top is needed to enforce changes and optimizations. And if there's no sponsors, no ambassador for your optimization project to be found in your C-level management team, I would seriously ask you, or you should seriously ask yourself better, whether you want to continue with your optimization efforts at all. If you have a sponsor, and assuming you have a sponsor, he or she will ask you for regular updates on targets, on progress, results achieved, costs made, etc. In other words, the KPIs that we've just discussed, he wants or she wants to see those. And this should then be presented in an easy to consume way, with not much details at the beginning, but with the possibility to drill down into details if needed. A management dashboard where each KPI is shown is ideal in this situation, and should be updated on a regular basis, at least once a month, and probably more often if you move closer to the finish line of your optimization project. And most BPM suites will have the capability to connect with BI systems, business intelligence systems, for reporting and dashboarding purposes. Moreover, they will also offer internal communication notification features such as Chatter or Yammer. You might use those yourself as well, or similar tools to let stakeholders communicate with each other. And sometimes they are also completed by a forum-like functionality like internal wikis, discussion boards, shared file repositories for document agreements, and share documents, etc. So they can help you a very long way in communicating effectively about process optimizations. And last but not least, continuous execution. Well, the bad thing I think about process optimization is that basically you are never done. Process optimization, you can say, is a living process that will evolve, change, grow, and shrink over time. As long as you are able to keep the changes and modifications within the original boundaries of your project, you will be in good shape. And that's also why it's so important to have a clear finish line. The finish line saves you from just going on and on and on forever. In an ideal situation, you will have the ability to implement process changes and process optimizations without any process downtime. I would call it improve the plane while flying it. And that's not easy to achieve. Every system outage brings along a risk, and to some extent, process simulation can help you already, anticipate on these risks, but keeping the lights on is usually the preferred option. And advanced BPM tools provide you the ability to do so-called hot process deployments. They let you introduce a new version of your business process next to the current version. That typically means you are running both processes simultaneously until all older process instances have been finished or redirected to the new way of working. And this can become pretty complicated to manage because new processes may ask for different input data than old processes. So that has its own dynamics. And especially long-running business processes, it may be difficult to achieve it, but it is possible using the right tool and a lot of common sense. Perhaps a word of caution, a prerequisite to doing hot deployments, and in fact to doing any new process deployment, hot or not hot, is the ability to do a full rollback to your previous situation, just in case needed. If after some testing and simulation you'll find the process not doing what it should do, what it intended to do, you need to be able to roll back to the previous situation, ideally also incorporating the running instances of the new faulty process. That being said, don't get scared and stop your optimization projects altogether. And no pain, no gain. That's the saying. And but I'm convinced that if you have to carefully thought out about these 5 C's that we've just seen, your chances for running a smooth process optimization project with only minimal pain and maximum gain will strongly increase. Thanks for your attention so far. If there are any questions, you can ask them through the chat box functionality that you will have in the webinar environment. And I now would like to hand the word back to Mickey.
Thank you, Reint Jan. And so I'd just like to say a few words now about what happens after your process application is successfully launched. You've successfully optimized, and now it's live. As Reint Jan pointed out, no matter how well you optimize it, we all know that it's not going to stay that way. Environments change, needs change, processes change, or at least they should change, because things do change around us. So your processes need to be flexible and adaptable to stay optimal. Can you change? Next slide, Reint.
Yeah. Just a second. Yeah.
Thank you. So what I want to share with you is that BonitaSoft has begun to introduce the means with Bonita BPM to produce process-based applications that are based on optimized processes but allow changes even after deployment. And then we can call these, as Reint Jan pointed out already, we can call these living processes or living applications. So the next slide says just a little bit about what living applications are that when we build them with Bonita BPM. So a living application or living process allows, for example, to add tasks that weren't anticipated even during the optimization process. If they're not in the original process, we don't need to completely redesign everything. We can add them as we go along. The second point Reint Jan mentioned, collaboration and communication and using feedback from users about how the process can be improved. A good living application is going to have that built in so that you can get real-life usage, experience to continue to improve the process. A good living process also includes dashboards. Again, as Reint Jan mentioned, consciousness, the measurement, being able to see what's going on as the process is working, how are we doing, what course are we on, etc. So this is also part of a living process. And on the technical side, even after the process itself is optimized, there may be technical issues where there's technical configurations that need to be updated, or there's failures due to external circumstances, some API goes down somewhere, and a good optimized process, you don't want that to be stopped just because there's a technical issue in the way. So a living process, a living application is going to allow you to deal with that. So with the idea of living process, then we can take optimization and extend it even into the lifetime, extend the life cycle of that optimized living process. So with that, I would like to go ahead and open up to questions. So if you have typed your questions into the box, I will go ahead and read them out loud so that everybody can hear them, and Reint Jan or I, depending, will respond. And I've got sun in my eyes. So, yes, we have a request for a quick summary. Reint Jan, can you quickly repeat the pitfalls again, those 5 pitfalls?
Sure, no problem. And I understand at the beginning it was also very quickly. I spoke a little bit quickly, so I'll repeat them now slowly. Start and finish should be clear, so you should know where you, what's your zero measurement and where you want to go, and it should be clear. Otherwise, you can go on and on forever. Secondly, using wrong KPIs is a pitfall. So you might measure all kind of things on your process optimization and on the process outcomes, but if these are not linked to your business definition, to your business end result, so to say, you might get pointed in the wrong direction. Thirdly, the third pitfall is that, and I have to go back a little bit now, I can put the slides up either if you want, is lack of ownership and support. So ownership, someone should feel owner of the optimization project, and you should have support and ownership also within the C-level management team, because typically process optimizations will go across departments, and you'll need someone overseeing those departments then and back you up in case needed. Fourth pitfall is that process changes are not embedded well, so you might make the changes, you might make even the right changes, but if they're not embedded, then it was just, you know, temporarily successful, but in the long run, people will refrain or will go back to the old way of working. That was the slide with the footsteps in the sand on the beach. The sea will go over it and everything will look the same after a few minutes again as it was, and the changes are not embedded. And the fifth pitfall is lack of execution. So it's not only in the process, it's also in the end you need to do things and you need to make it work together as a team, collaborate with other people, communicate with people, and have systems, tools, BPM tools specifically to help you also execute upon these changes and then on the new processes effectively and efficiently. So those are the 5 pitfalls.
Thank you, Reint Jan. Also, I'll remind everybody that you can download the white paper that Reint Jan has written on this same topic from BPM Leader, or you can also find it on the Bonita Soft website in our BPM library. So if you would like a summary, you can find it there as well. Okay, next question. Is Bonita Soft, is Bonita BPM N2 compliant? And the answer to that question is yes, it is. In fact, it was built on BPM N standard. So yes, we're compliant with the second version. Okay. How about one more question? Reint Jan, this one's for you. Why do you think so many process optimization projects don't make it to completion?
Yeah, indeed, as said, about 60 to 70%. That's really a high number of process optimization projects fail or are cancelled before they have reached the finish line, so to say. And I think the number one reason for this is that the original goals and objectives set for the project were not clear or were not contributing enough, or not at all, perhaps, to the business strategy. So a missing link between the optimization efforts and what the business overall wants to achieve, you know, what contributes to the business strategy, is probably the most dangerous pitfall. And besides that, lack of appropriate sponsorship and ambassadors in the senior management team of the organization put your optimization project on dangerous ground. You're trying to change things, people resist change, so you need backup. So you always have to ensure that you have someone in the top who owns and feels responsible for your optimization project. So no link or unclear link between what you want to achieve and what the business wants to achieve. And secondly, sponsorship and ownership within the organization to help get this project to a good end. That are the 2 main reasons, and apparently 60 to 70% of the projects don't have this and are therefore failing or cancelled before completion.
Well, I'll just add to that I hope that none of our listeners today experience this, and that I'll wish for all of you, as we draw to a close this morning or afternoon, depending on where you are, that all your optimization projects will be successful ones. And I'd like to thank all of you for joining us today, and I'd like to thank Reint Jan for an interesting presentation. Thank you very much. We'll be making this recording available on our website shortly. Thank you and goodbye.
Okay, bye.